Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us here today. I would like to welcome everyone, and it is definitely the 10th of December. It's funny how the days just end up rolling past us. I can't believe we're almost at the end of the year. So thank you all for taking your time to be with us here today. A little bit of quick housekeeping. Can I get a show of hands for everyone who can hear me clearly, please? Just you should have on your chat box the ability to raise your hand. And if you can hear me okay, I would appreciate a little bit of cooperation. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Again, today we are hosting a webinar on a couple of different things. We are going to be looking at Adagio Inventory 9.3a, along with taking a look at North49's e-commerce solution, and of course, APS credit card payments. So without too much further ado, I'll get into starting the webinar today. So new features. If you're new to Adagio, then everything is new to you, not just what's in 9.3a. But if you are currently using Adagio, which most of you are here today, you will get to see shown to you by Warren, my wonderful colleague Warren out in Vancouver. You will get to see all of that. I just got a message saying you're not seeing my screen. Here, let me fix that for you. And let's change that over to here. My apologies, everyone. That's a little embarrassing. Picture this. 1 second here. Ah, that's better. Thank you. I apologize. I believe that everybody can now see my screen. So as I said, we will be looking at Adagio Inventory. If it's new for you, fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Warren will be looking at the new features that are in 9.3a and some of what's unique in Adagio. We will also be visiting the e-commerce solution that is fully integrated to Adagio with our friends at North49. Peter Graycheck will be spending some time really discussing all about e-commerce for Adagio and what we need to know when we are definitely in that space, as well as APS Payments. Thank you so much for hosting the webinar today. And credit card processing, vaulting, what that means if you're the kind of business that is taking credit card payments, what you should know about being, again, in that space, taking credit card payments. Joe is going to handle that for us as well. And so I'm going to quickly skip over to Warren so we can get right into the inventory control updates for you. I apologize. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties, but I will hand it over to Warren, and I'm sure that that's going to work just fine. Warren, you should have an invitation there to take over. Is that right?
Yes. Do you people see a mauve-colored Adagio screen right now?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So that's good. Just want to make sure that we have the technical things handled. Well, welcome everyone to today's webinar, and we hope that you see some excellent things and learn some new things today too. I'm here at SoftTrack at home office in Vancouver, and I'm here to show you a little bit about Adagio Inventory 9.3a. Rather than going through some PowerPoint slides, I thought I'd just go right into it to spend as much time as we can in the application itself. So I understand that many of you are already users of Adagio Inventory, so let's just see some of the new things that you can do. What I'm going to do is going to first show a few things that are common in the Adagio set of features that we've started introducing at the 9.3a level. The newest upgrade about to release and is just released now is version 9.3a of Adagio Inventory. So I'm going to open up the receipts transaction window. And one of the key things that we've done is integrated Adagio Doc Store. So that allows you to transactions and in history to be able to attach and view PDF transactions directly on top of any transaction that you look at. So you can see a little checkbox, like a little eyeglasses, and that allows you to view PDFs, whether you have one or more than one, and if there's particular things that are appropriate to attach, so that you want to have those follow along the transaction from here, that will go to Adagio Payables or Adagio Ledger when you post these transactions, or anywhere else where there's integration. You can view them or attach them easily by simply editing a document and clicking a paper clip to browse for a document transaction. You can attach them by browsing. You can drag and drop from email or a Windows Explorer window. You can even scan if you have an attached scanner and a piece of paper. These are standard doc store related features so that you can attach a new transaction. And I'll save that. And so now you can see that information is linked on the screen. And that's kind of cool because one of the other new things that we have included is the ability of making the column editor a little bit more user-friendly. You've always been able to change the columns on grids, so you can add or subtract new fields from a grid in order to be able to see the information you want. So you don't have to print a report, you don't have to edit a transaction if you're trying to look for something that's common that you need. So for example, maybe we don't need these two, but you want to look for some new information such as the location. You've always been able to look through the list, but sometimes it's hard. Now you can just simply type in the title and it'll filter the list of fields that are available to add, so I can add them very easily. Or maybe perhaps you know that it's a value, but you're not quite sure exactly which the name of the title is, and maybe you want to see the number of lines that are in the order. So it's a lot easier now to be able to locate fields that you want to add in the column editor. There are a number of other things in the user preferences that you can choose to include, such as being able to change what happens when you double click, or you can add coloring to your rows in a certain way. Another new and interesting thing is the ability of backing up information immediately before you post. Now that's really interesting because if you're about to do something that's kind of hard to recover from, then that would be a very difficult thing. You don't want to have to back up from your data if you don't have to. So in the backup options, we make it a lot easier to back up. We've been able to add a toolbar button, and there's also an automatic backup process. So therefore, you can say that before you're about to run, say, day end processing, you can have a prompt come up and say, I'd like to make a backup of your inventory data before you begin, or just have it always done. And so therefore, if something were to go wrong, technology sometimes doesn't work, then you have a backup of your data that you need rather than having to undo a big mess. So what might that look like? So let's run day end processing to see what happens. So from the maintenance menu, transactions and day end processing. If you have a prompt, then what will happen is that you can either choose to include a backup before you're about to do the run, or just simply do the functionality. And if you've done one of these before, it will tell you how long it took. And it's only 5 extra seconds out of my day in order to run the backup in my case with sample data. So therefore, it's a lot easier to be able to know exactly what kind of commitment you're doing before you do the backup. So if I want to run day end processing with the backup, I can choose to do so here. So for me, it was very simple to back up all the data that's associated, and then day end processing will continue on as usual. So you'll find that being able to have these automatic backups will be a little bit more of a safety net in case you're about to do something that takes a lot of processing and be very hard to undo. And the last common feature that I wanted to show was the ability of being able to send reports to an Excel spreadsheet directly. And key features and key reports in certain Adagio programs allows you to do that. In the case of Adagio Inventory, the reports, we do that with the stock card report. So if you allow Excel direct printing, that's a feature that you turn on in the company profile, that means that not only can you print it to paper, not only can you print it to PDF, but you also have the opportunity of saving it to a Excel spreadsheet, and it's automatically in a table format, so therefore you can do analysis as necessary. You can change the file name and the save location so that's remembered for you for the next time. And you can even include codes in the file name or the subfolder. So for example, if you want to know which user printed it, you can enter in certain codes. So that if you're about to send this to Excel, you can say who printed it or the date. There are other things that you can add to the names to uniquify the name of the file that you're creating. So if we were to preview this, you can, just to remind you, a stock card report shows you the inventory movement from one date to another date. And so for a particular item, you might want to be doing some analysis. So it has a starting and then the transactions through a date range and then the ending balance. Well, you can do that sort of thing now in an Excel spreadsheet and do some further analysis simply by clicking the Excel Direct button. And so now we have the information in Excel, and it's a table, so you can sort and you can filter and do certain analysis as necessary. And as we move through the 9.3a upgrades in Adagio, you'll see that certain reports will have this Excel Direct Print functionality for easier use. We hope this is interesting. One brand new feature in Adagio Inventory is the ability of attaching a barcode to items so that you can use a handheld scanner. And you can access those barcodes from the item maintenance. And you can do this manually, or while you're editing an item, you can also access the barcodes once you've got at least one set up. There's not too much that you have to set up, and you can do them manually, or you can import them, which I'll show in just a moment. It stores the barcode value and associated with the item. Of course, barcodes could have different units of measure, so you can create more than one barcode for different units of measures. You can also include an alternate description so that if there's a particular reason that you'd like to override your item description and have something different based on the fact that you've scanned with a barcode, you can choose to do so. So it's just simply a matter of entering in this information manually, or you can import them. File, import barcodes. You can import them from an Excel file or a comma separated value if you've set those up from another system that you want to import them from. And so if we go back, now you can see that you could have more than one barcode for different units of measure and alternate descriptions if necessary. If we edit one of these items, let's say we'll edit this. You'll be able to see the barcodes individually within an item. So you don't actually have to go and search for a special barcodes editing screen. If you happen to be within the item itself, or if you're inquiring on the item, then you have the opportunity of seeing the barcodes, and you can edit them or you can add new ones here. When it comes time to actually using the barcodes, let's say that we're in a shipment. Whenever you're in an item number and you have a handheld scanner, you can scan them in. I don't happen to have one here. But when you enter in the barcode or scan the barcode and you escape, and the barcode scanner might do that for you, it will translate the barcode number into the item, and it will also bring through the description that's an alternate if in fact there happens to be one. And so this is available in all transaction entry, and not only in Adagio Inventory, but all other applications that support Adagio Inventory 9.3a. That would include order entry, that would include Adagio invoices. And you also have the ability of doing physical inventory with the barcodes. So once I load up a transaction, you'll notice that there's a barcode scanner here, so that as you're doing physical inventory, you don't have to do manual counts, but you can use the barcode scanner to increment each record count. So every eaches or every cases or dozens or boxes, you can use a barcode scanner for doing physical inventory. So we hope that those things will enable the ability of selecting items a lot easier. Some other things that are available in all transaction entry, whether they're receipts or shipments or adjustments or stock transfers or master item assemblies. the ability of filtering within each transaction type. You have the opportunity of showing just transactions that you're working on and that are only interesting to you. Perhaps it's by user, or perhaps it's by location, or other things such as how large or how quickly they need to be shipped or received, or processes. So you have the ability of selecting just particular information that you would like from the screen, or you can turn them off, and associate color with them as well too. Perhaps they have different statuses. So the standard filters that you've seen in other places, such as items or customers, are now available in transactions. When it comes time to creating a brand new transaction, we now have also the ability of specifying, and let me just go to the processing options of the company profile, an automatic reference. If you've ever had a situation where you're creating a transaction, you know you have to enter in a reference, and you're not quite sure exactly what to add, so you just type in something. Well, now you can auto-generate that reference. Either it's an incrementing number, the REF code, or you can enter in other text, that's such as a month or a user or other sorts of things. If I hold up my mouse, you can see that there's a set of hints that you can use to reference that. So when it comes time to actually creating a brand new transaction, you'll see that the automatic reference included an automatic incrementing number plus the user plus, in my case, the month, or you could also put in the day and the year if you wanted to as well. And all transaction entries now have the opportunity of doing optional fields. So if there are particular fields that you have to include with your transactions and there's not automatically on the screen, then you can add those new ones as transaction optional fields on the header, and so therefore you can have that associated with the transaction. Those will flow to the inventory history, and you can also send them to Adagio Ledger as part of the description if you wish. So there's opportunity to customize that. Once we've posted one of these transactions, then they'll be sent to history as per usual. Let me just load them all. There's a couple things I wanted to identify in history, that there's a number of new fields that are stored for your customized reporting. So now we store things such as the purchase order number or the vendor invoice number, or in the case of order from order entry, the original order number will be stored as well as the invoice number. So it might be easier to find particular inventory items in the history transaction. And if you'd like to find out a little bit more about that, you can double click on a row and drill down into the history inquiry detail. You can do things such as identify particular information, or as I mentioned before, Adagio Doc Store is supported in history files. And so therefore you can browse to see the PDF of the invoice that might have been applied to. And finally, we've enhanced the item maintenance just a little bit, so that you have the opportunity of, alternate price lists. Sorry, my mistake here. Alternate price lists. You've always been able to create different price lists for all of your items and have the opportunity of setting different prices, sale prices, quantity discounts. Perhaps it's by customer or retail versus warehouse purchasing, but those lists can get very cumbersome, and it may be interesting just to see a specific price list, and you can work off of that. So you can identify if you have to make a change to a particular, it's easier to find, and you can also identify that if there's any items missing, and then do that information here. So it's easier to identify alternate pricing for a particular price list that's associated with a customer or a particular place where you do your purchasing or your selling. So I think that's all I really wanted to identify with the Adagio inventory. Hopefully there's some other questions towards the end of the session. I believe then if there isn't a poll question, then I will pass it on to Peter to be able to do the North49.
Thanks. And is somebody going to pass me control, make me the presenter? Katie, are you doing that?
Yeah, Peter, you should see that right on your screen.
I see it. Let me just get things rolling here. Bear with
And
me for 1
I
second.
do apologize to the audience for the technical difficulties that I was experiencing early on. I didn't get to introduce myself or anything. It can be quite distracting when things aren't working. So Pete, I'm glad that we can see your screen now and we can hear you okay. So
Good
I'll
stuff.
hand you over the floor. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Katie. So hi, everyone, and thanks for having me. Just want to talk about our e-commerce platform. I'm not going to launch into a presentation of it. It's a fairly comprehensive application, and I think it's better suited to more of a one-on-one discussion where we can specifically talk about your situation and how we might help you solve that with online sales. Rather, I'm going to speak to the market and what's happening now or what perhaps isn't happening right now. But just a little intro, I will talk a little bit about our platform. It is really comprised of a few different elements. It's a full web store, which is what the name Webtellgence is referring to. It can also be a mobile sales portal or just a sales rep portal, which is really just a different view of the web store to an internal facing person as opposed to an external person. And then, of course, there's our standalone customer portal, which can also be deployed as part of the web store, but it can also be done completely separately, and we'll chat a little bit about that later on. So North49 is the publisher of this. In the opening slide, we didn't get a big chance to look at all of that stuff, but you saw some numbers flashing there, and we're going to talk a bit on the next slide about what the significance of those numbers is. So hang on, I've gone too far here. So what those numbers represent is I seem to be missing a slide, but never mind. It was the sales from I believe it was 2014 up to 2021. It went from just a few $1 million up to several $1 trillion. So just over the span of a few years, it has increased significantly. But let's take a look at this from the standpoint of a business to business or a wholesale distribution, and let's see what the market looks like in that situation. So the business to consumer sales represented about $2.3 trillion. And business to business sales, online sales only, represents about $7.7 trillion. So you can see there is a significant difference between these two numbers. And it might come as a bit of a surprise to some of you that the wholesale distribution numbers are so much larger than the retail numbers. And I think the reason we're seeing this is from a number of different things. In our personal lives, we've come to expect a certain level of service when we do our online shopping. Most of us shop on Amazon, and we've come to expect certain things in the way that we do our shopping. I mean, instant access to stuff that we want to see, what's our account status, where are my orders, all of this kind of stuff. And this is starting to spill over, I believe, into our business lives. We want that same experience that we get in our personal lives. We want that from the businesses that we deal with. And so I think that's why we're starting to see this stuff build and build over time. And wholesale distribution just represents a much bigger chunk of the market compared to the consumer side. And again, that might be a bit of a surprise to some folks. So here's what the numbers look like in the US. So by 2021, online e-commerce sales for wholesale is expected to hit about $1.18 trillion. Now, for those of us in Canada, we're about 10% the market size. So if we take 10% of that number, we're in around 100 billion. Still a significant number. So that really represents about 13% of all business-to-business sales. And I think this is probably going to grow at a more significant rate. So this is what the forecast says. We may actually see that percentage grow by the time we hit 2021, just because of the rate that things are changing. So there's a couple of animations here in the next few slides. I'm just going to scroll through them, and so we can see the end result, and we'll chat about them once they all get up there. So something to take note of here, and this probably doesn't come surprise to anybody, this first image here, 74% of all business-to-business buyers will research their purchases online. I think most of us likely do that. I mean, I know that I do. Anytime I'm going to go out and buy something, I'm going to know a lot about it before I ever go and talk to a salesperson or pop into a store or make that purchase. But what's surprising is that almost all of these folks prefer to buy online once they figured out what they want to buy. That's a significant number, and we can't afford to ignore that, because that's what people are telling us they want to do. They want to buy online, and we need to give them that option. And we just think back to, oh, not even that long ago, companies like Kodak and Blockbuster. These are companies that didn't adapt to their changing environment. You know, one of them is completely out of business and the other one has lost significant market share. So we get the benefit of their sort of lack of foresight or inability to adapt to what a changing market demands. So thankfully, we get to learn and not make those same mistakes. So this is what the market looks like from the seller's perspective. Right, we've got this graphic up here. Looks like things are well in hand. You know, little Pac-Man guy there seems to be pretty much taking control of the situation. But that's until we realize that the big chunk of this chart actually shows which of the small to mid-sized businesses are not providing an online sales option for their customers. Now that's a pretty significant disconnect there. And in fact, that's how we're characterizing this. This is a disconnect between what the market is demanding and what we are actually providing them. So when you look at this, if 93% of the buyers from that earlier graphic we saw want to buy something online, but only 17% of the folks selling it to them, we're missing the boat here. So looking at this, what does that mean to somebody who's paying attention? And we'll come back to that question a little bit later. So we should, I think I missed a poll question that I was going to ask there, and let me just try and launch this poll if I can. I don't see it on my screen anymore. I was going to launch a poll to find out how many people actually provide an online sales option for their customers. Katie, do you have access to that poll? Can you launch it? I don't seem to have access to it.
It's actually launched, Pete. So
oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Are you providing an online purchase option for your customers? So if anyone in the audience does have an e-commerce platform, please click yes. And if you're not providing any kind of online purchase option for your clients, please click no. And Pete, we usually give that a couple minutes, not even minutes,
Okay.
a few more seconds to see how people will be responding. And
Okay.
I believe our web moderator can help with closing that poll and then perhaps sharing the answers. So there you go, Pete. Can you see that?
I can't see it, but hopefully everybody else can.
Okay, so from our audience today, we have out of everyone attending, about 44% of you are providing some kind of e-commerce or online purchasing option for your clients, and about 56% are not. So Pete,
Okay.
it's a tight split there.
Tight
It's not
race.
too far off.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually encouraging to hear that folks are providing this. And I guess the next question, and we're going to address this a little bit later, with the slide that you see on the screen right now, is how many of you have this integrated to your back office accounting? And so what's shown on the screen here right now is people who have been doing it for quite a while. And these are guys who have sort of been down the road. Maybe they were the trailblazers or at least the early adopters of selling online. But what they're discovering now is, as the volume increases through their web store sales, they're finding that they've created a bit of a workload for themselves, because if it's not integrated, now they've got the job of getting all those orders into their accounting system so they can be tracked properly and fulfilled through the proper fulfillment channels that typically will run through your accounting system. So that's one side of the coin, having things automatically flow down into your accounting system for fulfillment. The other side of it is getting the information up to your web store so that it's accurate, so that pricing is correct. And by pricing correct, especially in wholesale distribution, I mean correct for that customer. Because inside of your accounting system, typically you're going to grant purchase terms, you're going to grant a specific pricing model or discount structure to those specific customers. And so as somebody logs into the web store, they should be presented with their prices and whether or not they can buy on terms, or are they required to provide some form of payment, which would bring in the folks from APS to collect that payment, or at least the authorization for payment once you ship those goods. So that's what folks are discovering. And having an integrated system can save you a ton of time, and as a result, it actually just increases your profit because you don't have to keep throwing more bodies at this problem in order to get all this stuff taken care of. You're not maintaining two disparate data sources. There's no chance for error of incorrect product, incorrect pricing. Somebody rekeys that order incorrectly, which means you got to reship the goods, you got to pay for the return shipping of it, and you probably just created a bad customer experience, which could potentially cost you that customer. All of this stuff translates into a better customer experience, greater loyalty, and higher profits for you. So just something to think about. Again, we're learning from the past experiences of people who've been doing this for a while, and they've come to realize that this is a significantly important thing for their businesses. So let's talk a little bit about our platform, again, called Webtellgence. We use, excuse me, two main means of communication. So number one is Dataport, and that's really the workhorse of the system. It is responsible for moving mass volumes of data between the accounting system and to the web store. So all of your product information with, anything that will become available out of Adagio with the descriptions and the pricing and things like that. But in most scenarios, that's not enough information for a good shopping experience online. So you want to be able to add more information to that. You want extended descriptions, you want images, you want maybe even videos, you want supplementary files. Maybe it's material safety data sheets. Maybe it's, if you're in the food business, it might be, FDA stuff or anything you can imagine you might want to associate with that product gets done so through Dataport. And Dataport does these updates on a scheduled basis, and you get to determine what gets updated and how often. It also brings down all your orders and payment information from the web store and gets it into Adagio so you can complete those orders. And again, you pick and choose what gets updated and when and how often. It's not an all or nothing scenario. Items can get updated once a month if that's how often you change them, but you want orders to come down several times a day or whatever makes sense for your business. The other means of communication we have, we call Connect. And Connect is more of a real-time read of data. So in a situation, let's say it's a customer portal. We don't replicate all of the customer history from Adagio and put it in our web servers. What we do is we read it on demand. So somebody says, show me my invoice. So they're into the customer portal. They say, show me this invoice. We will actually go and query the database and bring it back and serve it up at that point in time. So we don't have to store all that information. And there's a bunch of benefits to doing it that way. And one, it's way more secure because it's in behind your firewalls and only served up on demand. Number two, we don't have to accommodate for every possible combination of data that somebody might want to serve up to their web store. Because if you can imagine, we build a web store and it's in our web servers, we have to have a database structure to accommodate that data. Well, if we're just reading data live, all we need now is a placeholder on that HTML page to show where that data is. So it makes it a lot easier for us, and it opens up the door for us to serve up any data that's inside of Adagio, or in fact, any ODBC compliant data source. So that's the two means of communication that we use. And just to sort of illustrate that in a more graphical way, again, think of Dataport as that piece of middleware that normalizes the data between Adagio and the web, and then vice versa. And it does so on a scheduled basis. Whereas Connect, on the other hand, reads it on demand, real time, as of right now. We do, by the way, make use of the SQL Sync component that is available with Adagio, and you can speak to your Adagio reseller about how you get that. There's a couple of components that are required, but we can certainly work that out when we have those discussions. And as I mentioned before, we've designed these things to be open-ended, so we're not limited to data that lives inside of Adagio. We can go after any SQL table, any ODBC compliant data source. So it's really open-ended. So if you're running other systems in your offices and you think it makes sense to make that available to your customers, we can certainly do that. So let's get back to that question we spoke about earlier. What does this disconnect mean to the astute observer? And based upon the poll we just took, there's a lot more people providing online sales. So this 17% is actually closer to 40%, which is much better for this group. So that's good news. Things are moving in a positive direction. But even at that, what does it mean to the astute observer? Well, that means that the people who are not providing this are potentially going to lose market share, and you have the opportunity to gain that market share because you're delivering to the market what they're asking for. They want to buy in a certain way, and if you provide that way for them to buy, chances are you're going to win that business. And so from our perspective, We don't offer you up a bunch of templates and say, pick the one that most closely manages what you're trying to do. What we do is we build the experience based upon your brand image and the stuff that you have worked years to build. You want that represented on the web. That's the world's window into your business. And you spent a lifetime potentially building up that persona, that image, that experience you want for your customers. And we need to replicate that on the web. So we need to make that buying experience cater specifically to your customers for your products. And we will work very closely with you to design that experience. And that's what will get rolled out, so you get the best possible experience for your customers. I mentioned earlier that if you're not in the market, let's say, are ready for a full-on web store, you can opt to just go with a standalone customer portal. And this is just a means for your customers to go online and self-manage their accounts. They can look at some summary information. They can look up all of the transactions that live inside of Adagio. They can pay their account online through the APS payment gateway. All this kind of stuff becomes at their fingertips. We host these portal pages. Again, it makes use of Connect to read that data up and serve it up to your customers. So it's a real easy way to sort of, I guess, dip your foot in the water before you actually took the full plunge. And we do offer a test drive portal. So if you make note of this URL with these login credentials, and don't worry if you forget them, I can just reach out to me by email or give me a call, and I'll give you these details so you can actually have a poke through the test drive and just see what that portal is all about. And that's it for me. That's everything I wanted to talk about. If anyone wants to speak specifically about their situation, I'm happy to do so. I believe my contact details will be at the end of the presentation. And with that, I will pass it back.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. Your contact details definitely will be at the end of the presentation. And I'm going to hand it over to Joe right now of APS Payments. And Joe, you should see an invitation on your screen any moment now. And don't worry about speaking to time. Stay on schedule, because I'll pick up what I didn't get to talk about as we wrap up towards the end. Okay, Joe?
Okay, excellent.
Ready when you are.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, sir. I think you are good to go.
Okay, so we'll get started right now. Just want to clean some things up for myself here. Okay. First of all, thank you to Katie, Warren, and Peter for being part of this education webinar. And last but not least, thank you to each of you for attending today's webinar. I was really excited to see how you can manage your inventory within Adagio. Now, the ultimate reason why you have inventory is to sell it. As you just saw from North49, you now have a way to present that product, and buyers purchase your products online as well. But before you ship any product, what do you request? A payment, of course. And that is where APS Payments, in tandem with Adagio and North49, are here to provide you with an integrated credit card payment solution for you and your business. As Katie said, my name's Joe Goose, and I'm the dedicated Adagio channel manager at APS Payments. I'm excited to share the benefits that integrated credit card processing provides Adagio users in Canada and the United States. Several benefits are reduced processing times, streamlined operations, improved visibility and reporting, better cash flow and customer experience, saving B2B transactions with level 3 data, increased data security via the tokenizing of your credit card so you can be PCI DSS compliant. So let's briefly chat about PCI DSS and level 3 processing. People always ask me, what does the letters PCI DSS stand for? The acronym means Payment Card Industry Data Card Security Standard. In a nutshell, this is the credit card industry effort to partner with their merchants to continue to fight against credit card data, fighting against credit card data getting in the hands of the wrong people. I'm confident you don't like the inconvenience of your personal or business credit card account being charged without your authorization, right? Well, neither does anyone else. Therefore, storing non-tokenized credit card data within Adagio or any ERP or any type of application is not acceptable. If you desire to store credit card information within Adagio, then I highly recommend that you look to utilize the Adagio payment module that connects with APS Payments Gateway and allows you to tokenize all your customers' credit card information. Because if you're not in compliance with PCI DSS standards, you're putting your business at risk. Your business can be liable for lawsuits, insurance claims, canceled amounts, payments, card issuer fines, and government fines as well. APS Payments and Adagio and North49 are here to help you be in compliance when you choose to process credit card payments. The nice part of being on Adagio 9.3a and above for accounts receivable, invoice, and order entry, once again, this allows you to tokenize your credit card information and ensure you're in PCI compliance. So now let's talk a little bit about level 3 processing. Level 3 processing is the ability to qualify for lower interchange rates in exchange for more data points for a given purchase on your business-to-business and business-to-government transactions. In the States, the savings can be up to 43% for those B2B and B2G transactions. The beauty of our integration is that it happens with no additional effort because in many cases that data already exists within your Adagio solution. Currently today, this is not offered in Canada, but once this program is rolled out in Canada, all APS merchants in Canada will be automatically enrolled so they can save even more money. This is a quick visual of what level 1, 2, and 3 data points are. Now, to receive level 3 processing, you need to provide 20 data points to Visa and MasterCard. Once again, in many cases, the data already exists within Adagio, so why pay more? Payment processing is changing. There's an old way and there's the new way. And at APS Payments, we're here to help you make that transformation as you see fit. The buyer's expectation is changing on how they would like to do business with you. Keep in mind Adagio, North49, and APS Payments are here to help you make that transformation effectively and efficiently. At APS Payments, we're a committed group of payment professionals that seek to provide flexible and integrated payments for every business across North America. These are the people that make the magic happen from Mesa, Arizona to Toronto, Ontario. We know payments, but we also like to have fun doing it. So if you're attending the Adagio 2020 event in Summerlin, Nevada this coming spring, please stop by our booth and enter to win our famous Cash Money Jar giveaway and pick up a pair of our legendary APS Payment flashy glasses. Why it makes sense to engage APS Payments if you already take credit card payments or you're looking to take payments. It's simple. We help companies like yours all throughout North America save time and money, mitigate risk as the world changes, and improve their business workflow. Now, if you need another reason, then take our APS Payments Challenge. We will provide you a no-cost, no-obligation merchant statement analysis to see what kind of savings might you qualify for. If we can't save you money, then we will send. Simply provide us with your 2 most recent merchant statements, and you will finally understand what your merchant statement and how you are being priced. I'm confident you will discover together the opportunity to save time and money, mitigate your risk, improve your workflow with Adagio and North49. FYI, in the past year, we've helped many Adagio end users. We've helped one Adagio user save $5,000, another $12,000, another $24,000, another $45,000, and yes, we did help somebody in Vancouver save over $165,000 a year. Just keep in mind, many Adagio end users who switched over to APS Payments utilized their cost savings to enhance their Adagio solutions with new modules and add-on solutions like North49. Thank you again for attending. If you have any interest in taking the APS Challenge, please look for the follow-up email with the above link, or you can write down my contact information that Katie will share with you shortly. To each of you, please enjoy your holiday season and best wishes to a wonderful 2020. Thank you for attending the webinar today. Katie, I hand the presentation back to you.
Thanks, Joe. I definitely appreciate that. Would you do me a favor and just explain again what it is that you would give away if it shows that you can not save your clients any money? What did you say you seem to have cut out at that moment?
Oh, sorry. In that particular situation, if we cannot, our challenge is for anybody and everybody that we have through anybody who ever comes through our door at APS Payments. That challenge is offered out to the Adagio end users as well, and they would be given a check for $500.
Challenge accepted. Thank you. I hope that our audience takes advantage of that. I want to thank Warren so much, Peter and Joe, of course, for your help today. There are definitely members in the audience who are using Adagio. We also have some members of the audience who are not using Adagio. And for those of you who just like to spread the Adagio gospel, I want to take a minute to just recap really what is Adagio. So multi-user, multi-currency, modular accounting system. What that means is you're really buying what you need as you need it and have the opportunity to add on Adagio modules or other enhancements like North49 and APS as your business grows to require those needs or as your budget allows for it. We're not industry specific, but we do play very well in specific industries. Wholesale distribution being one of them, because of our integrated operational modules to the financials. So we're talking inventory control, purchase orders, order entry. For those of you who are already using Adagio today, you know this, but for those of you who don't, this is why people who end up outgrowing entry-level products when managing inventory, for example, come to look at Adagio. So often we see people in the QuickBooks world reaching capacity because they don't have the ability to cost out their inventory in a variety of different ways. Adagio supports 5 different costing methods: LIFO, FIFO, standard, user defined, and there's always one that I forget. My inventory users would know that better than I would imagine. We are heavy code and descriptions. As you saw, we now have the ability to add an alternate description with the new barcoding. And so it's not just looking up inventory items by black widget, it's actually with codes, which allows us to have much more control over this inventory management solution. Quite robust. You're not dealing with entry-level program anymore. Fully integrated purchasing, ordering, return merchandise authorization, with an e-commerce platform, as you saw Pete talking about today, and APS Payments. So that helps to manage those returns. It helps to manage the inventory count getting updated automatically because your PO has been reconciled. We can easily turn quotes into orders. That ability exists in Adagio. And for those of you who are high volume transaction end users, you know this better than anybody. Adagio order entry, and Adagio for that matter globally, is very keyboard driven. You can completely manage your order entry on Adagio keyboards, your keyboards in Adagio, because the mouse is a wonderful web browsing tool. It's really not that great for data entry. Document management incorporated now into our new version of inventory. Thanks so much for showing that, Warren. And we do offer, again, e-commerce, credit card processing, wholesale management, and much more that is involved for the wholesale distribution market. Our customers, this is what some of our Adagio customers look like. Literally, these are some of our Adagio customers, but basically businesses that are handling over $2 million a year or more in revenue. There is a full-time accounting department. You are managing high volume transactions. You heavily rely on your reports, whether that's, again, at a financial overview or an operational overview, the ability to ad hoc, the ability to add custom filters for information at a quick glance, like Warren was showing us earlier today. All of these things, our clients are very report driven, and needing the ability to have integrated solutions. So again, like Pete and Joe were talking about with e-commerce and Adagio payments. And our solution is affordable, it's scalable, it's a modular system. Again, adding on what you need as you need it. So just to recap today's agenda, what's new in Inventory 9.3a? For those of you who are using it, you will see the release come out to you very, very soon. Your Adagio reseller and consultant is already been playing with it for quite some time now, and again, it will be available to our end users very shortly. We do have an Adagio YouTube channel that also will have all of the new features in short show me how videos that Warren has so thoughtfully put together for everyone. Warren, thank you so much for all that you do with the training and the videos. So for those of you using Inventory 9.3a show me how videos, there'll be several of them available to you. Pete, thank you so much for that really informative section of the webinar. It surprises me I was surprised how many B2B users there are out there and how much that industry is making, and really how it's just becoming more and more in demand. It's not just about me and Instagram anymore, is it, guys? And then Joe, being compliant, PCI DSS compliance, huge, huge in today's world. We cannot be housing our clients' credit card information on a spreadsheet or even in Adagio anymore. And the wonderful folks at APS Payments allow for you to still be able to process your client's credit card for orders that you are providing to them in a secure, vaulted, tokenized, encrypted way, which keeps your business safe and in compliance to your merchant agreement. So really informative today. If you do have any questions, here's our contact detail. If you're new to Adagio and you want to learn more, please contact me, Katie Griffin, kdg@softtrack.com. My phone number is there as well. Or if you're using Adagio and you have a particular question, ask your reseller first. No, I'm kidding. You're more than welcome to give me a call as well, but your reseller is always there for you. Pete Graycheck at North49, Peter at North49.com. If you do have any more questions about e-commerce, what that might look like for your business, again, your reseller will work closely with Pete on that for you. And of course, Joe at APS Payments, if you want to learn more about Adagio Payments and how APS Payments can be your processor, about being PCI DSS compliant, also your reseller will help you and work with Joe as well. And so, oh, there's a typo. So that's clearly 1888 for Joe and not 188. Apologize. Thank you so much. The recording of this webinar will be available to everyone who attended and likely on our YouTube channel as well. Again, thank you to all the presenters and the attendees. And I wish everybody a safe and wonderful, happy holidays. And we look forward to having more in the new year. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.